Well, hey there, Miss Cassie.
Hey there. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Um, I'm gonna just jump right in. So my friend Marianne from Everton Cottage, we were talking about some different things, and she tells me, she's like, "You have got to follow Cassie Stephens," and she was like, telling me all about you, how you always wear these very fun outfits, and about all your art. And she was like, her page, her Instagram page, is the highlight of the whole Instagram. She said, she goes every day and checks out to see what you're doing. And I was like, okay, I've got to go follow along too. And then wanted to have you on the podcast to talk about some things that you're doing and ways you are so creative and inspiring everyone during this time.
Well, that was very kind of her to say. She has the cutest little shop in Franklin.
We
I
love it
love,
there.
yes, the best place for presents. And then I always walk out with something for me as well.
Yes.
So that was very kind of her to say.
A gift for someone else, a little something for you. It's a win-win.
Right.
They have an
Exactly.
awesome too right now. They'll do free deliveries. I ordered a Golden Girls puzzle from them, and they dropped it off right at the house. It was so convenient.
I had no idea. That is amazing. I'm going to have to go do a little shopping as soon as we're done chatting.
Yes.
You might have gotten in trouble.
Wow. It's for good cause, local community. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I have been an elementary art teacher in the Nashville, Tennessee area. I now teach in Franklin. I've been doing that for 21 years. This was my 21st year teaching art. I've always taught art to young kids. I have about 350 students that I teach every week. So I see them all in and out of my art room. We have 30-minute art classes. So the day goes by in a blink. There's a lot happening throughout the day. So it's been very, very tough not to be with them currently. I'm finding a way to still connect with my students along with a lot of other kids by teaching now online art classes for free for anybody who wants to join. And I've been doing that every weekday at 11. So that's been a lot of fun, but of course there's no place like home. There's no place like being in your classroom with your students and just seeing their faces and the excitement of creating with them. So that's a little bit about me. I love sewing. That's kind of my creative outlet, my creative passion. So when you mentioned the clothes that I wear, mostly I sew them myself. I love to use vintage patterns. And if I'm not sewing it myself, then I'm hitting up the thrift store and either, mixing and matching some fun pieces from there or altering the clothing from there. I have to really keep a budget in mind because I'm a teacher, and half the time my clothes are going to end up getting paint or clay or any kind of, messy art supply on them. So I can't, nothing can be too precious that's worn in my room. But I really enjoy being creative with fashion and creating my own clothes and kind of wearing things that go along with what I'm teaching about, because I find that that really helps to further engage my students. They're always very curious about what I'm wearing, that's for sure.
Well, just from glancing on your page and talking with you a little bit, I'm like, oh, I so wish my kids could have you as an art teacher. As I mentioned to you, my background is in teaching too, just regular classroom, but I so appreciate the fine arts and the art and music teachers. I think that's what my kids thrive in, are those extracurricular classes, and I feel like it just engages them in such a different kind of way, and love everything that you've been able to do. And anyway, they'll just have to learn from your online classes since they can't be in your regular classroom.
And there you go. And as a special area teacher, trust me when I say all special area teachers love when classroom teachers, like yourself, appreciate us, know that we are working just as hard as everybody else. So we appreciate that kind of love and appreciation. So thank you.
Absolutely. Well, I occasionally will substitute, and I was in an art class last year, I think. And it is because you're having to do different projects, and these are time intensive a lot of times, and you're working with different materials. And I feel like it's tough trying to, I don't know, have all these different materials available. And I don't know, for me too, I'm like, oh, you want it to go like a certain way. And then with art, especially, it's all about the kids creating on their own. And so I think that would be a fine balance of trying to teach art.
It is. It is. You also have to be okay with messes. You cannot have that
Yes.
like OCD, like, oh gosh, everything's gotta be tidy. No, I mean, I'm sure there are those folks who teach art like that out there, and bless them, but I embrace the mess because I'm a mess. So I think you have to have a little bit of that to be able to teach art. So
Definitely.
it's a lot of fun though. Yeah.
Well, speaking of making messes, our house, now is turned into a classroom, and my dining room table, every time I'm like go to like wipe it down, there's paint splatters all over because we've been painting, and there's marker and all this. I'm like, eventually we're gonna need a new table, but I love it because it shows all the stuff that all the memories just tuned into the table. But you were mentioning how you've taken your time now online. You can't be with the kiddos in person. And I think this is a great offering that you're doing for parents and students who are home, ways to do some creativity. So share with us a little bit about these weekly themes you've been doing and how people can connect with that.
Sure. I guess we found out that we were going to be out of school about 2 days before our spring break. I think maybe March 13th was perhaps our last day. I can't really recall. It seems like ages
Kind of
ago, doesn't
blur.
it? But I remember when we kind of got that notice, going into my spring break, knowing I wasn't going to be going anywhere, I thought, how can I still teach my students and connect with them? Because at that point, I didn't realize we were going to be out until the end of the year. I thought it was just going to be a 2-week, it was just a possibility. Might be a week, might be 2. And I thought, well, I still want to be able to connect and reach my students along with any other students out there, because at that point we were all across the country in the same boat and also kind of in this limbo state. So when I had left my students, we were in the middle of getting ready for our big art show. We always have a theme for our art show, and this year's theme was going to be science fiction. So we had lots of robot projects, alien projects, everything you can imagine that we had already created and we're getting ready to create. So knowing that one of our themes was robots, I thought, well, I will just do a robot themed art lesson 1 day a week live. And then the rest of the days of the week, I'll just pop up a video on YouTube. Well, the very first day I did that robot art class, it was an explosion of people joining in. I had such a great response that I thought, well, instead of just making the video something static on YouTube, I will go ahead and just end the week every day live at 11. So we did Robot Week. And at the end of the week, kids were asking, what's the theme for next week? And I was like, okay, here we go. So we are now in our 6th week of doing every weekday, 11 a.m. Central Time art classes. They go for about 45 minutes, sometimes an hour. Today went a little bit longer. And we've had themes like robots. The second week we did Zany Scientist, where we also did science experiments along with an art project. So that was a lot happening. We have done pirates, which was very popular, superhero week. Last week was Dinosaur Week, and currently we are in Outer Space Week. So every day we're either doing a drawing activity, or we have once a week made salt dough clay with salt, flour, and water. Today we made a salt dough solar system using that kind of clay. So I try to think of supplies that kids would have at home. I know at my school we're a Title I school, so that probably means paper, crayons, pencils, scissors, glue, and that's it. But I try to think of all sorts of different creative projects that we can do with that limited amount of supplies. And anytime kids miss out on a video of that day, all the videos go archived to my YouTube channel. So it's been a lot of fun. I'm getting all sorts of ideas for other weekly projects that the kids want to do. And so I don't necessarily know when we're going to be stopping this train. So we'll just keep on creating together. I'm really enjoying it. It does make sure that I get up and I get dressed and I put on a face every day, and I have somewhere that I need to quote be. So it's really satisfying for me, and it's helping me out quite a bit.
Well, I know that it's certainly helping out the families and giving them some creative things. And I love that you say, it's materials that you have from home. I know that a lot of art supplies too are in low demand. We picked up a few essential items recently at Target, and all the paint was gone. I'm like, oh, it's just funny what people have been picking up. But I think that's great, using the materials that are usually you can find around the house. Now, in addition to all your amazing art classes and things you're doing there and your sewing, you're also an author. You have a couple books out. Can you share a little bit about those?
Sure. I've written so far 2 books. I'm working on a couple now, but I have one that is called Clay Lab for Kids. It's 52 clay projects for kids. And it's all clay that you can either make, like the salt dough clay, or purchase from a store. None of this is kiln fire clay. And the book is written in such a way where there's a lot of photos and a lot of very simple steps. So any kid about the age from 8 up could pick up the book, open it, and follow the steps and be able to create along with me. So again, that's called Clay Lab for Kids. And then the other one I wrote is called String and Stitch Lab for Kids. And it has 44 sewing, weaving. There's some tie-dye projects in there. Any kind of like fiber arts project you can imagine is poured into that book. Fiber arts is my favorite thing to teach. It's my favorite creative outlet. I love to sew and weave and all of that. So that book was so much fun to write. It's tough. Now, as a teacher, writing a lesson plan is not fun. But when you're writing a book that has 52 projects in it that have to be original, by the way. So I was like really racking my brain.
That's a lot.
It was a lot. It was like writing 52 lesson plans where you also had to photograph every step, because I did the photography for the book as well. So they were a lot of work. It's a labor of love writing a book. After the first one, I swore I would never do it again. And then a year later, I find myself writing the first one. So so those are both available on Amazon or anywhere that somebody would like to pick up a book. They can find them there.
So those are also great things for kids to be using right now through the summer, all the time, but especially when we're trying to find creative things to keep them entertained. Speaking of creativity, you are just a lady of many, many talents. You also were on the show Nailed It. Can you share about the experience on Nailed It and what you created and how that experience was?
So I guess it was 2 years ago, because, with something like that, with production, you're watching it on TV, but you don't know, oh gosh, this was filmed a year ago, you know what I mean, or edited. It takes such a long time. It's kind of mind blowing. But I guess it was about 1.5 to 2 years ago that I got an email that just in the subject box said Netflix show. And I was like, what? Yes. What is this? So it turns out it was for a show called Nailed It, which I had never watched. So before responding to the email, I thought, let me just go ahead, check out the show, see what it's all about. I don't know if you've ever watched the show, but it's a baking show for people who do not know how to bake, of which I am an obvious expert. I absolutely do not know how to bake. But when I watched the show, it made my hands sweat the whole time, because it's timed competition, and they not only have to make something that looks beautiful, but then they actually eat it. And I thought, oh, I don't think this is for me. I really don't think I can handle this. And I remember writing back and I said, thank you so much for reaching out to me. They had found me through YouTube. They'd seen a couple of my YouTube videos and for some reason thought that I should go on the show. But when I said to the woman, I said, I just don't know about this. And she said, well, it's perfect for you because you don't know how to bake. So that's why we want you on the show. We want people to make these giant messes. So I thought, you know what? A lot of the things like writing the book, a lot of opportunities, sometimes they just present themselves, and you can either just say yes and plug your nose and dive in, or you can overthink it and then never know what could have happened, right?
Right.
So I thought, why not? If anything, it's a free flight to LA, and
Little
it'll be a
trip.
fun, right? So I went ahead and went for it. And it's so funny because I was sitting there with the other contestants, Toy, Shika, and Anil, and we were sitting and chatting in between takes. And they were, right before we were getting ready to go on, they said, so what's your strategy? What was your favorite Nailed It episode? I'm going to be like this contested and, do it this way. What are you going to do, Cassie? And I thought, I, at that point, had only watched one episode because I thought, if I watch too many, I'll get nervous and I won't.
Right.
I said, I've only watched one episode, and they were like, oh, you are in so much trouble. So we go through the first round, and I don't know if anybody's seen the show. It's season 3, episode 3. But in the first round, I'm not going to lie, I made a really beautiful cookie. I mean, I'm kind of artsy. You had to paint a self-portrait on a cookie.
Oh.
Mine looked all right. Mine.
You got the art down.
I got the art part down. Unfortunately, I didn't realize that they were going to have to taste it. And I'd only baked the cookie for like 3 minutes. And all 3 judges spit the cookie out. So I was like, I am in trouble. But thankfully on that show, you have 2 rounds. It doesn't matter how terrible you do in the first round, you move on to the second. So I was able to keep going on to the second round. And what I learned from the first round of them spitting out my food was that I had to get the head chef over to my workstation as soon as I could to pick his brain, because we had that opportunity to press a button and he'd spend 2 minutes walking you through everything about the recipe, because the recipes are incomplete. When I watched one of the episodes of the show, I thought, just follow the dang recipe. What is wrong with you?
How hard can it be, right?
Right. It's missing a lot of, I'll tell you this, it didn't tell me how long to cook something. And then in the other recipe, it didn't tell you what temperature to put the oven at. I mean, these are things that I need to know. So Jacques, the head chef, walked me through the recipe in 3 minutes. And spoiler alert, I won the show. I won the episode. So yay.
Yay.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. That was a great experience. I would do it again. And I would suggest anybody who sits and watches those shows and is like, what, that looks like fun. I should maybe do it. Yes, you should totally do it. You just have to fill out a little online application, film yourself baking something, and submit it. You never know, like any kind of show like that, you never know what could happen.
I think I found that in my life too, that a lot of situations where I'm like, I don't know, where it seems just kind of like random or, putting yourself out there, they always turn out to be the best situations, or I learn something from them, or make a lot of good memories along the way. So got to step outside your comfort zone sometimes.
For real. Definitely.
When you are not so busy sharing your creativity all across the board, what are some things here locally that you enjoy doing in your spare time?
We love hiking around the Nashville area. One of our favorite parks, which I don't even know if it's open right now, simply because we've been walking in our neighborhood lately. But Radnor Park, Radnor Lake is so beautiful, so much fun. We've made so many friends that we always bump into when we're hiking at Radnor. Smith Park is a beautiful park here in Brentwood that we love to go to. So just going to different parks in the Nashville area is a lot of fun. I am really missing eating out at my favorite restaurants, to be honest. I mean, that's like our summer, and we're approaching summer. And I in my mind feel kind of like I'm on summer vacation now, since
Right.
I'm in perpetual not working kind of state. But we're vegetarians, so a couple of vegetarian places that we really love are. Oh, are you really?
Yeah.
How cool. Sunflower Cafe, then is so great. That's one of our favorite places to eat at. And now they have that second location in Donaldson, the bakery, which is fun. Yeah, it's got a totally different menu. And it's more of a bakery kind of like a Panera meets a vegetarian restaurant, because it's like a
Ooh.
sandwich place that you can order at the counter, but it's great. And Vui's Vietnamese kitchen is really, really good. Of course, they're not just vegetarian, they have a wide variety of things, but those are a couple of our favorite places. And it's been tough not going out and getting my dinner fix. But,
Yeah,
and even
I
here
hear.
in Franklin, Triple Crown Bakery, our friend Elena owns that bakery, and that's easily our favorite bakery. So those are just a couple of things that we love. I love to shop. So my favorite, like if I have a free day, my favorite all-time place to shop in Nashville is called Pre to Post Modern. It's this
Oh,
it's a pretty good sized vintage place on 8th Avenue. There's a great coffee shop next door, a couple of fun antique places across the street. So if I ever have a free day, that's where you can find me.
sounds pretty dreamy. Well,
Yeah,
thank
it
you so much. I know you've got me like excited to go eat, go check out these shops,
does.
and now I want to go hiking. I heard that the state parks are opening back up pretty soon, so that is good news. I think we all could use some places to get out and hike around and get some fresh air.
Yeah.
Before we
It
let
is
you go,
nice though, just yeah, yeah,
oh, go
yeah.
ahead. What were you saying?
I was just going to say, it is so nice to see everybody's outside right now,
Yeah.
and I am loving that. Even when you walk in your neighborhood, I'm talking
Mhm.
to people I've never spoken to before in my life, and we've lived here for 11 years,
I know.
so
I
that
know.
has been a kind of an interesting and beautiful thing. I do love that.
I think there's been a lot of good that has come from this situation, a lot of things like that, seeing your neighbors, being people being outside, being intentional with the time and using it, like just being having to be creative, like, okay, how can we make the most of these days? So I think that has been a positive for this time
Mhm.
for sure. But yes, we're
And it's
looking forward to getting back out and supporting and being in our community too. Well, before we let you go, can you share where everybody can find you online? Because I know they're going to want to follow along.
Sure. I'm a pretty easy to find. Everything has my name, Cassie Stephens. So my Instagram is at Cassie_Stephens, ending with a Z. And I'm on TikTok for some bizarre reason. I'm
Cool.
Cassie Stephens there. On YouTube, I have tons and tons of those videos now. Gosh, I'm uploading a new kids art activity video almost daily, and that's on YouTube under my name. And on Facebook and Instagram, that's where I do live for
Okay.
the art classes every weekday at 11. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing all your amazing talents with us. So thankful that you're sharing all these great art activities, and I know that our family is going to be doing them. And you know what? I might get some of your books to do myself because I love those kind of projects, and they'll probably be on my level, the kid friendly ones. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, John. I appreciate it. See ya.